The book of First Kings, chapter 16, verse 1, 1 Kings 16 and 1, 1 Kings, the 16th chapter, and the first verse. It says, Then the Lord spoke against King Baasha through the prophet Jehu, the son of Hanani. He said, I made you an important prince over my people Israel, but you've done the same things Jeroboam did. You caused my people Israel to sin. Their sins have made me angry. So Baasha, I'll destroy you and your family just as I did Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and his family. Dogs will eat the bodies of those in your family who die in the city, and wild birds will eat the bodies of those who die out in the fields. The rest of the story of Baasha and the great things he did are written in the book, The History of the Kings of Israel. I'm lost. Why would you talk about how bad he was and then say the great things he did? That's contradictory. Wow. Baasha died and was buried in Tirzah. His son Elah became the new king after him. That book also has the story of the time the Lord gave the message to Jehu, the prophet, about Baasha and his family. Baasha did many things the Lord said were wrong, just as Jeroboam and his family has done. Isn't the fact that Baasha had everyone in Jeroboam's family killed made the Lord very angry? But I thought you all said that the Lord had told Jeroboam that everybody be cut off. Wow. Elah, king of Israel. Elah, son of Baasha, became during the 26th year that Asa was the king of Judah. He ruled in Tirzah for 2 years. Zimri was one of King Elah's officers. Zimri commanded half of Eli's chariots. But Zimri plotted against Elah. King Elah was in the Tirzah drinking and getting drunk at Arsa's home. Sounds like trouble. Arsa was the man in charge of the palace at Tirzah. Zimri went into the house and killed Elah. Then Zimri became the new king of Israel after Elah. This was during the 27th year that Asa was king in Judah. Zimri, king of Israel. After Zimri became the new king, he killed all of Baasha's family and friends. Lord have mercy. He didn't let any male in Baasha's family live. So Zimri destroyed Baasha's family just as the Lord said he would when he spoke against Baasha through the prophet Jehu. This happened because of all the sins of Baasha and his son Elah. They sinned and they caused the Israelites to sin. They worshiped worthless idols, and this made the Lord angry. The rest of what Elah did is written in the book, The History of the Kings of Israel. Zimri became king of Israel during the 27th year that Asa was king of Judah. I guess Asa was in a long time. Zimri ruled in Tirzah only 7 days. Wow, this is what happened. The army was at Gibbethon, which was under Philistine control. Omri was the commander of the army of Israel. The men in the camp heard that Zimri had made secret plans against the king and killed him. So in the camp, all the soldiers made Omri the new king. Then Omri and all the soldiers of Israel left Gibbethon and went to Tirzah. They surrounded the city and attacked it. When Zimri saw that the city had been captured, he ran to the palace fortress, but the soldiers burned it down with him still in it. So Zimri died because he sinned and did what the Lord said was wrong, just as Jeroboam did when he caused the Israelites to sin. The story about Zimri's secret plans and the other things that he did are all written in the book, The History of the Kings of Israel. Omri, king of Israel. Then the Israelites were divided. Well, that sounds normal. They sound confused too. Half the people followed Timni, son of Ginath, and wanted him to king. The other half of people followed Omri. But Omri's followers were stronger than the followers of Timni, son of Ginath. Timni died, and Omri became king. Omri became king of Israel during Asa's third. Asa is still reigning in Judah? Good Lord, was he 1,000 years old? Omri became king during Asa's 31st year as king of Judah. Omri ruled over Israel for 12 years. 6 of those years he ruled from Tirzah, and Omri bought the hill of Samaria from Shema for about 150 pounds of silver. Omri built a city on that hill. He named the city Samaria after the name of its owner, Shema. So that's how you got the city of Samaria and the Samaritans. Omri was responsible for that. Interesting. Omri did what the Lord said was wrong. He was worse than all the kings who were before him. He committed all the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had committed when they caused the Israelites to sin. They worshiped worthless idols, and this made the Lord, God of Israel, very angry. The rest of the story about Omri and the great things he did are written in the book. Now, why do you keep saying he's done great things, but then you're saying he did all these bad things and God was angry with him? Anyways, it's in the history of the kings of Israel. Omri died and was buried in Samaria. His son Ahab became the new king after him. Ahab, king of Israel. Ahab, son of Omri, became king during here we go again, the 30th year that Asa was king of Judah. How long is Asa going to be ruling in Judah? Goodness. Israel has gone through 30,000 kings now, and Asa is still reigning. Ahab ruled Israel from the town of Samaria for 22 years. He did what the Lord said was wrong. Ahab was worse than all the kings who were before him. It was not enough for Ahab to commit the same sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, did. Ahab also married Jezebel, daughter of King Ethbaal of Sidon. Then Ahab began to serve and worship Baal. He built a temple and altar in Samaria for worshiping Baal. He also set up a sacred pole. Ahab did more to make the Lord, the God of Israel, angry than all the kings who were before him. During Ahab's time, Hiel from Bethel rebuilt the town of Jericho. When Hiel started to work on this city, his oldest son Abiram died, and when Hiel built the gates of the city, his youngest son Segub died. This happened just as the Lord said it would happen when he spoke through Joshua, son of Nun. No, don't put that on God. That was Joshua said that now. 1 Kings 17, Elisha and the time without rain. Elijah was a prophet from the town of Tishbe in Gilead. He said to King Ahab, I serve the Lord, the God of Israel. By his power, I promise that no dew or rain will fall for the next few years. The rain will only fall when I command it to fall. Then the Lord said to Elijah, leave this place and go east, hide near Kerith Ravine, east of the Jordan River. You can get your water from that stream, and I've commanded ravens to bring food to you there. So Elijah did what the Lord told him to do. He went to live near Kerith Ravine, east of the Jordan River. Ravens brought Elijah food every morning and every evening, and he drank water from the stream. There was no rain, so after a while the stream became dry. Then the Lord said to Elijah, go to Zarephath in Sidon and stay there. There's a widow there that I commanded to take care of you. So Elijah went to Zarephath. He went to the town gate and saw a woman gathering wood for a fire. She was a widow. Elijah said to her, would you bring me a small cup of water to drink? Excuse me. I guess I need water now. Isn't that something? As she was going to get water, Elijah said, bring me a piece of bread too, please. Who do you think you are, Elijah? The woman answered, I promise you before the Lord God that I have nothing but a handful of flour in a jar and a little bit of olive oil in a jug. I came here to gather a few pieces of wood for a fire to cook our last meal. My son and I will eat it and then die from hunger. Elijah said to the woman, don't worry, go home and cook your food as you said. But first make a small piece of bread from the flour that you have made and bring it to me. Then cook some for yourself and your son. The Lord, the God of Israel, says, that jar of flour will never be empty. The jug will have oil in it. This will continue until the day the Lord sends rain to the land. So the woman went home and did what Elijah told her to do. And Elijah, the woman, and her son had enough food for a long time. The jar of flour and jug of oil were never empty. This happened just as the Lord said through Elijah. Sometime later, the woman's son became sick. He became worse and worse until he stopped breathing. Then the woman said to Elijah, you are a man of God. Can you help me? Or did you come here only to remind me of my sins and to make my son die? Elijah said to her, give me your son. He took the boy from her and carried him upstairs. He laid him in the bed in the room where he was staying. Then Elijah cried to the Lord. He said, Lord, my God, this widow has let me stay in her house. Will you do this bad thing to her? Will you cause her son to die? Then Elijah lay on top of the boy 3 times. He prayed, Lord God, let this boy live again. The Lord answered Elijah's prayer. The boy began breathing and again was alive. Elijah carried the boy downstairs, gave him to his mother and said, look, your son is alive. The woman answered, now I know that you're really a man of God. I know that the Lord really speaks through you. 1 Kings 18, Elijah and the prophets of Baal. During the 3rd year that no rain fell, the Lord said to Elijah, go meet with King Ahab. I'll make it rain. So Elijah went to meet with Ahab. The famine was very bad in Samaria, so King Ahab told Obadiah to come to him. Obadiah was the man in charge of the king's palace. Obadiah was a true follower of the Lord. One time when Jezebel was killing all the Lord's prophets, Obadiah hid 100 prophets in 2 caves. He put 50 in one cave and 50 in another cave. Then he brought them food and water. King Ahab said to Obadiah, come with me. We will look at every spring and every stream in the land. We'll see if we can find enough grass to keep our horses and mules alive, and we'll not have to kill our animals. They decided where each of them would go look for water. Ahab went in one direction for himself. Obadiah went in another direction by himself. As Obadiah was walking the road by himself, he looked up and there was Elijah. Obadiah recognized him and bowed to show his respect. He said, Elijah, is that really you, master? Elijah said, yes, it's me. Now go tell your master, the king, that I'm here. Obadiah said, if I tell Ahab that I know where you are, he'll kill me. I've not done nothing wrong to you. Why would you want me to die? As surely as the Lord your God lives, the king's been looking for you everywhere. He sent people to every country to find you. He made the rulers of those countries swear that you were not there. Now you want me to go and tell him that you're here? If I go tell Ahab that you're here, the Spirit of the Lord might carry you away. And when King Ahab comes here and can't find you, he'll kill me. I followed the Lord since I was a boy. Surely you've heard what I did when Jezebel was killing the Lord's prophet. I hid 100 of the Lord's prophets in caves. I put 50 in one cave and 50 in another. I brought them food and water. Now you want me? I mean, he's going off. Now you want me to go and tell the king that you're here? The king will kill me. Elijah answered, I serve the Lord all powerful, surely as he lives. I promise I'll stand before the king today. So Obadiah went to King Ahab and told him where Elijah was. King Ahab went to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw Elijah, he said, is that really you, the troublemaker of Israel? Elijah answered, I've not made trouble for Israel. You and your father's family caused all the problems when you stopped obeying the Lord's command and began following false gods. Now tell the people of Israel to meet me at Mount Carmel. bring the 450 prophets of Baal, the 400 prophets of the goddess Asherah, who get their support from Queen Jezebel. So Ahab called the Israelites and those prophets to Mount Carmel. Elijah came to the people and said, you must decide what you're going to do. How long will you keep jumping from one side to the other? If the Lord is true God, then follow him. But if Baal is true God, then follow him. People didn't say nothing. So Elijah, and folks are thirsty. They're like, just do what you got to do. We're ready to get some water. So Elijah said, I'm the only prophet of the Lord here, but there's 450 prophets of Baal. So bring us 2 bulls. Let the prophets of Baal have a bull. Let them kill it, cut it in pieces. Put the meat on the wood, but don't start the fire. I'll do the same with the other bull, and I'll not start the fire either. Prophets of Baal, pray to your God, and I'll pray to the Lord. Whichever God answers the prayer and starts the fire is the true God. All the people agreed that this was a good idea. Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, there's many of you. You go first. Choose a bull and prepare it, but don't start your fire. So the prophets took the bull that was given them and prepared it. They started praying to Baal and prayed until noon. They said, Baal, please answer us. But there was no sound. No one answered. Then they began jumping around the altar they had built. And at noon, Elijah began to make fun of them. He said, if Baal is really God, maybe you should pray louder. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he's thinking about something. Maybe he stepped out for a moment. He could be sleeping. You should pray louder and wake him up. So the prophets prayed louder. They cut themselves with sword and spears. That's the way they worship. They cut themselves until they were bleeding all over. The afternoon passed, but the fire still had not started. The prophets were out of control and continued to act this way until the time came for the evening sacrifice, but nothing happened. There was no answer from Baal. There was no sound. There was no one listening. Then Elijah said to the people, now come here. So they gathered around Elijah. The Lord's altar had been torn down, so Elijah repaired it. He found 12 stones. There was 1 stone for each of the 12 tribes. 12 tribes were named for the 12 sons of Jacob, the man who the Lord had named Israel. Elijah used these stones to repair the altar to honor the Lord. He dug a small ditch around the altar. It was wide enough and deep enough to hold 4 gallons of water. Then Elijah put wood on the altar. He cut the bull into pieces, laid the pieces on the wood. And he said, fill 4 jars with water. Pour the water on the pieces of meat and on the wood. And he said, do it again. And he said, do it a 3rd time. The water ran down the altar and filled the ditch. About the time of the afternoon sacrifice. Wait a minute. You all were getting ready for the evening sacrifice in verse 29. So how did you jump from the evening sacrifice in verse 29 to the afternoon sacrifice in verse 36, unless this is carried over to the next day? Interesting. The prophet Elijah approached the altar and prayed to the Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I ask you now to prove that you're the God of Israel, and I'm your servant. Show these people that it was you who commanded me to do these things. Lord, answer my prayer. Show these people that you, the Lord, are God, and that you're the one who's bringing them back to you. Then fire came down from the Lord, burned the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the ground around the altar. Then it dried up all the water in the ditch. All the people said, the Lord is God. The Lord is God. Then Elijah said, get the Baal. Don't let any of them escape. So the people captured all the prophets. And Elijah led them down Kishon Creek and killed them all. My God, that was a butchering. You butchered all these bulls, and now you're butchering 450 men. Wow. The rain comes again. Then Elijah said to Ahab, now get up, eat and drink. The heavy rain is coming. So King Ahab went to eat. At the time Elijah climbed to the top of Mount Carmel. At the top of the mountain, Elijah bent down, put his head between his knees. Elijah said to his servant, go up higher and look toward the sea. The servant went and looked and came back and said, I saw nothing. Elijah told him, go look again. This happened 7 times. The 7th time, the servant came back and said, I see a small cloud the size of a man's fist that was coming from the sea. Elijah told the servant, tell Ahab to get his chariot ready and go home now. If he does not leave, the rain will stop him. After a short time, the sky was covered with dark clouds. The wind began to blow and a heavy rain began to fall. Ahab got in his chariot and started back to Jezreel. The power of the Lord came to Elijah. He used his belt to hold up the bottom of his robe away from his feet. Then he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. Interesting story. This is the word of the Lord. Follow, like, share, and subscribe. Encourage others to join with us. And make sure you type in the comment section. This is the word